How to sing with confidence. You see, most people, they face this problem. They feel like whenever they are singing, especially if they are singing in their own bedroom, singing becomes easier. But when they have to sing in front of other people, even if, let's say, in front of one friend, in front of 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, or maybe in front of a huge ass crowd, guess what? Immediately, your confidence kind of drops. And you feel like you can sing when you're alone by yourself, but whenever you're in front of other people, perhaps your confidence drops and that affects your singing. Or maybe you think that confidence is what's holding you back from even being able to sing well in the first place, which also could be true. If you were to watch till the end of this video, you will understand how, when you can focus on these 3 aspects of training your confidence, you're going to become a legend at singing. And what I'm about to share with you is what I've learned from one of the highest paid life coach in the world, Tony fucking Robbins. I've learned this confidence matrix from him, and today I'm gonna show you exactly how we can apply this to our own singing so that we can be that confident, badass motherfucking singer that we are destined to be. So let's get started. Now you see, there are 3 things that is going to affect your confidence. Number 1, which is repetitions. What does it mean? So let's say, for example, most of the time, if you say you don't have a confidence to sing that high note in front of your friends, in front of an audience, what you're really saying is perhaps you haven't done enough repetitions. It could go 2 ways. Number 1, if let's say you're hitting a high note G4 for a guy, or let's say a B4 for a lady there, maybe you just haven't hit that high note enough times. Maybe you haven't practiced enough time in your bedroom alone. The amount of times in your life that your vocal cords have reached that high note in a mixed voice, maybe you haven't done it enough time, or maybe you're trying to sing in your falsetto or hit voice, you haven't done it enough times. There's not enough repetitions. That could be one reason. Another reason why you lack repetition is the actual repetition of doing it in front of people, because guess what? Doing and executing a high note in front of other people and executing a high note alone in your room is 2 different things. In your room, you get to make all the mistakes you want and there's no consequences, but in front of other people, you only have 1 shot and only 1 shot.
1 shot, 1 opportunity.
There is no, okay, wait, let me try it again. There's no such thing. On a stage, you don't have an audience. You know what? Hey, let me just try it again. You only have 1 shot and you gotta nail that shot. And the act of repetitions, the amount of times you have sang that particular high note in front of other people, that is also repetition. So if you haven't gotten the repetitions down, it is going to hinder your confidence, because guess what? Great singers, Ariana Grande, Bruno Mars, Shawn Mendes, Luis Capaldi, James Arthur, Lady Gaga, Adele, Jungkook, all these great singers, guess what? They have sung those high notes in their own bedroom and in front of the crowd 1,000 fucking times, and for them, they have locked in their repetition. And so as you continue to watch the video, I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 3. 1 being you don't have much repetition, 1 being bad, 2 being so-so, and 3 being you are excellent at it. How many repetitions do you have? Now grade yourself on that. That is the first circle. The second circle that we are gonna look at is your state. What do I mean? Now, when it comes to state, there are 2 different kinds of state: emotional state and physical state. Let's first talk about emotional state. For a singer, how confident you are, it affects a lot on your emotional state. If, let's say, something tragic happened to you, then probably you'll be in a bad emotional state. And even if physically you're all healthy and everything, if emotionally you're in a bad state, guess what? There's a good chance that you might not execute whatever you want to execute on the stage well, in front of other people well. Mentally, you have certain baggage, you might not be able to execute it well as well. So for example, when Harry Styles performed at the Brits Award for his song Falling, guess what? A few days ago before that, his ex-girlfriend, I think, committed suicide. And Harry Styles himself, he encountered a situation where he was being at a knife point and he had to surrender over his wallet to the kidnapper so that he can save his life. All these kind of life experiences, it is right before the Brits Award. It's going to affect Harry Styles emotionally, but did he let it get into himself? Possibly, maybe yes, maybe not. And that is the emotional state of things. At the same time, when it comes to emotional state, for example, if you know this guy called Jamie Miller, he wrote this song, Here's Your Perfect, and guess what? He wrote it on a day where his ex-girlfriend cheated on him and broke up with him. And on that day, he feels very sad, and guess what? As a result, he was able to write out a song, Here's Your Perfect, and it's one of his most popular songs today, even though he has just released it a while ago. So it is about how you take advantage of the emotional state, and if you let the emotional state affects you. Now let's talk about the physical state, which is more like, are your vocal cords swollen? Physically, your body, are you feeling tired? Do you have enough rest, enough sleep, enough water? Because guess what? Your physical state is going to have a huge impact on your confidence. Because most of us, when we are tired, guess what? Those high notes, they become harder to sing. When our vocal cords are thicker, guess what? High notes becomes harder to sing. It is easier to miss those high notes, and as a result, because we know that's going to happen, our physical state is dragging us down, and it makes us less confident, and we have to work harder in order to execute what we want to execute on the stage. Does that make sense? The good thing about state is that it can change very easily. That means if you are feeling down, simply by clapping your hands, simply by just like ha 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 ha, simply by laughing, eventually this fake laughter usually will turn into real laughter if you promise me to do it for at least 1 minute just by changing your state. The good news is you can change your state easily. The bad news is if you have not learned how to control your emotional state, your physical state, if you know you have an upcoming performance and you choose not to sleep, or perhaps you are just unfortunately you fall sick on that day, that's the downside. The state, you can't change your physical state, but your emotional state, if you don't learn how to control it, or you don't learn how you can tap into the emotional state where you are most focused in the present moment to sing that song on the stage with confidence, then you're not going to be able to max out 3 out of 3 in that moment. The good news is your state, it can be increased very fast from a 1 to a 3 quickly. And the bad news is also sometimes it's just we just can't control it, because sometimes for me, I know that when I'm too tired, if I slept way past my bedtime and I wake up the same time the next morning, I will realize that the entire morning my vocal cords will be very thick and high notes becomes very difficult for me to sing. Whereas on other days it feels very easy, and because of that discrepancy, like suddenly, why are my high notes missing for that day? It's gonna affect your confidence as well. So go ahead, next time before you have a performance, even right now, if you are practicing your singing while watching through all these YouTube videos, guess what? I want you to rate your state from 0 to 3. Are you like in the best state? Are you like totally present in the moment, ready to execute the song, or are you like bothered by something emotionally that happened to you recently? Or physically, you're feeling just tired, or your voice just feels thick today. Rate and grade yourself now. Now, the third and the final circle that we have to look at is competence. Now, what is competence? Competence, it is related partly to the reps as well. Competence is having the know-how, having the ability to do something. So for example, let's say, do you have the competence to sing those high notes on the stage? See, the first thing is competence. You have to do enough reps in order to clock a certain level of competence. And even then, once you have a certain level of competence, the rep itself, the more reps you do, the more locked in you are. Competence is also the know-how. Do you know what you have to do in order to execute that high note? Are you stuck in your low placement, or are you in your high placement? Do you know how to access your high placement at will with a click of a finger without trying to warm up for years before you can get your high placement? Or are you always just stuck in your low placement, talking and speaking and singing all your low placement? And when it comes to competence, the way you develop it is through learning. My YouTube videos, my courses, private lessons with me. This is how you gain competence. This is how I gain competence, by learning from vocal coaches and studying and doing my own research. That is how I gain a competence. Now that I have the know-how, I can do the reps. And when I have enough reps, my competence improves. And a lot of the times, you don't feel confident simply because you don't have the competence to do so. For example, if let's say right now I want you to sing a song with a G4 for a guy, and if a lady, I want you to sing a song with a B4 in your mixed voice. If you cannot sing a G4 or a B4 in your mixed voice confidently, you know that you can. You know that you can't even do it. You know that when your voice reaches F4, F4 sharp, or when you reach A4, A4 sharp, your voice starts to break, it starts to strain. If you know that happens to you, guess what? You don't even have the competence to do it, and of course, your confidence will take a hit. Does that make sense? Because you know that the only way you can salvage the situation is to flip to a weak false side. So where you're supposed to actually sing that note in a mixed voice. Does that make sense? So once again, go ahead, grade your competence level from 0 to 3, and soon you realize that most of the time when you're not confident, it is because at least one of the 3 it is not maxed out. What do I mean? So you could be someone who's generally very confident in your life. Maybe you have a great emotional state, you have enough sleep and everything, your chords feels good and everything. You have a number 3 there, maybe you've done enough reps. However, if let's say the competence itself, it is still not there, then guess what? What if all your reps you're doing your low placement, you might still not have developed the competence? Maybe all your G4s, you are singing it in your low placement, you've done enough reps for that, but the competence to sing high notes the proper way in your high placement, you have not had it. Guess what? It is going to take a hit on your confidence. At the same time, if let's say you have perfect reps, you have done so many reps in your high placement, you have the competence to sing your high placement, you have all that, but guess what? Emotionally, if that day you are waking up feeling tired, for example, like I am a few days ago, and if let's say emotionally you are going through a breakup now, going through some hard times, then guess what? Chances are you'll not feel as confident of executing that high note as well, even though you have the repetitions and you have the competence to execute it well. Sometimes it could be more than one factor. It could be that you are confident, but you have not done the reps, you don't have the competence. That is why you can see some people, you know, they're just naturally confident people, and then they'll just like sing in front of other people, even though they are going off pitch. Their high notes are breaking and straining, they just do it. Deep down, they still feel less confident because they don't have the competence and the reps to make them be fully confident of what they're doing. And to sum it all up, anytime where you're not in the legendary state, ask yourself this question: which one of the 3 am I missing? If my state is bad, what can I do to up my state to a 3 so that I become a legendary singer? And at the same time, I've not done enough reps. You know the answer is to keep hammering it in the high placement and just get the repetitions done. Repetition is the mother of all skills. It's so important, I'm going to say again. Repetition is the mother of all skills. Even if you have accessed your high placement, if you have not practiced enough in your high placement, you will still not be confident because you simply haven't get used to the feeling of the high placement. Does that make sense? Or at the same time, if your competence is lacking, if you don't have enough knowledge, then guess what? Buy a course, go for vocal lessons, up your knowledge level. And then as a result, when you can translate what you've learned in your singing, your confidence will be boosted once again. So anytime when you feel like you're not confident, you feel like you could be more confident, it is usually because of one of those 3 reasons. Or it could be all 3, it could be a combination of those 3. Go ahead, find out the root problem and tackle it. And when you max out all 3 circles to 3, you'll be fucking unstoppable and you'll be that badass, confident singer who truly connects with the audience. Hey, I hope that this video helps you out if you currently have some confidence issues with your singing, and if you do like this video, then go ahead and hit the thumbs up button below and comment down. Tell me in the comments section exactly which one of the 3 factors are you missing and what are you committed to working towards today. And I'll see you in another video.